Welcome to a brand new episode of the Jampack Report, today for October the 11th of 2019. Of course, my name is Samuel Adams, and 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, you can find me right here on the Jampack Report, giving you the hottest gaming news that you need to know. If you enjoy the show and you like what you see, hit that subscribe button on YouTube or find the show via a podcast feed of your choosing and integrate it into your daily routine. I love making the show, and word on the street, this is just a rumor, I hear people like listening to it, which is kind of mind-blowing to me. But today we are talking about Modern Warfare, the upcoming game, not the remaster that came out a couple of years ago or the original that came out about a decade ago. We are going to be talking about the fact that the newest game is reportedly going to take up 175 gigabytes on PC if you did want to install it. But fear not, that's not all at one time. Infinity Ward has clarified the entire situation, because people were very upset about this. That's a lot of space for PC. That's a lot of space for anything. Let's make that very clear. Then we will talk more about Nintendo Switch console sales in Europe, IO Interactive's next big project, Ubisoft making some cartoons, and tons of other news. But before we do dive into that, I wanted to follow up yesterday's headline story with an update, because Hearthstone caster Nathan ThatsAdmirable Zamora has stepped down over the Blitzchung controversy. Now, I won't be diving into this entire article again. I'm going through the iteration of the story on PC Gamer. But essentially, this is a pretty major change in the story, because not only did we have yesterday's resignation, but Zamora is a pretty big name in the casting space, and to see him step down is a very big blow to Blizzard without a doubt. Another host has said that he does side with Blitzchung and the pro-Hong Kong protest, but has also said that he will not be stepping down from his casting position. And again, everybody has their own statements, everybody has their own takes on the situation. But again, I did want to iterate and update the story that more people are coming out as a supporter of Blitzchung. Of course, Blitzchung being a pro-Hearthstone player that came out in support of the Hong Kong protest and was then reprimanded by Blizzard by effectively being banned. Not a great look right now. Going into BlizzCon in just a couple of weeks, the PR nightmare is just beginning to ramp up, and it should be interesting to see what kind of moves Blizzard begins to make as the event does draw near. But again, if you do want to actually see the updated story from Andy Chalk, I will link it down below. But without further ado, let's go ahead and move on to today's main headline story. Call of Duty Modern Warfare won't take up 175 gigabytes on PC. At first, war is a little smaller than it initially seemed. Activision recently released PC system specs for Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and one number was surprisingly high. The company has since clarified that you won't actually need 175 gigabytes set aside to install the game on day one, but you may need that much if you intend to play all of the post-launch content. 175 gigabytes is the storage space we recommended for players to keep available in order to download the post-launch content, and, of course, that we will be bringing to Modern Warfare, the company stated. At launch, the initial download will be smaller. The clarification doesn't detail just how much smaller the game's base install will be or how long it will take the game to balloon to 175 gigabytes, but that does clear up that you won't have to wait for such a massive install at one time. This also doesn't necessarily mean the same space requirements will exist for the console versions. While console and PC versions are often similar, space requirements can differ slightly, and day one installs can require more space due to the ways the different types of hardware copy files. And of course, if you did want to pick up a PS4 Pro bundle, they have also announced that one they mention at GameSpot. But this is good news without a doubt, and whenever all things are considered, this isn't considerably higher as compared to having all of the DLC packs for a previous Call of Duty game or downloading all of the content from a battle pass. This is pretty much in line with what you would come to expect in today's day and age. If I had to guess what the base install is going to be, somewhere between 100 and 120 gigs. If I had to guess, that could be a bit high, but that's just my general estimate. And the entire thing really comes down to the idea of having upgraded textures. Of course, I mean, just look at this screenshot. This is an incredible looking screenshot from Modern Warfare, and at the end of the day, it's going to be a very beautiful looking game. I've played the game on every console and platform imaginable when it comes to the beta, and it is the best looking Call of Duty game that I've ever really played, in my personal opinion. And that's just the multiplayer. Campaigns tend to look just a bit better because they've got a bit more polish on them. But don't worry, not 175 gigabytes on day one, but I will say if you want the post-launch content, which is going to be free, so you'll probably end up getting it anyway, you better have 175 gigs saved up on your PC, and console sizes are TBD at the time of this podcast. However, you won't be having to worry about this on the Nintendo Switch, but don't worry, the console sales are still up nearly 30% in Europe this year. Console sales have passed 10 million sold over the pond. Nintendo Switch is having a good year in Europe, with sales up around 30% on 2018 and 40% on 2017. It's this momentum which has today pushed the console over the 10 million sales milestone across the continent. Globally, Nintendo Switch is now sitting at over 37 million units sold. The recent launch of Nintendo Switch Lite will no doubt have helped, of course, but a key factor in the Switch's success remains its incredibly strong library of exclusive games. 9 Switch games have now passed 1 million copies sold here in Europe, and they're all made by Nintendo. Those games are exactly the ones you might expect. Evergreen favorites such as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Super Mario Odyssey, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and Zelda Breath of the Wild. Also on that list are Pokemon Let's Go, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Splatoon 2, and 1-2-Switch. Unfortunately, ARMS did not make the list. It's Nintendo's knack for those that don't know. Also, third-party games such as Minecraft, Crash Trilogy, Mario Plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, and Stardew Valley have all sold 500,000 copies in Europe. It looks like the Nintendo Switch is doing pretty dang well. Who would have thought? The console itself is a machine. I mean, literally, but on top of that, people just love the thing. People continue to buy it hand over fist, and for good reason. The Nintendo Switch is impressive, to say the least. Although it's not on par with the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4 in terms of power, the novelty of the console, the fact that you can take it anywhere, the way developers have been able to really wring out just every bit of power from the console and make games that are legitimately good, that is what is really driving Nintendo Switch sales. And so really it comes down to the fact that not only is the hardware itself a pretty solid piece of tech, the games that you play on them are also solid as well. Now, it's interesting to see this has not been hindered by the Joy-Con drift reports. Of course, that is the instance in which your Joy-Cons or your analog sticks, for those that aren't familiar with the setup of the Nintendo Switch, tend to have a bit of a looseness to them, and whenever you set the console down, your player still continues to move. Just a bit hindering for those accuracy-focused games. But besides that, it looks like Nintendo Switch consoles are still selling very well in Europe, and I would say also selling pretty well around the world. And of course, as they mentioned in the article, the Nintendo Switch Lite is a big deal, but without a doubt, that is going to be the hot item this holiday season, hands down. I think that is going to be the biggest console seller for 2019. And of course, that is coming because of the fact that the Xbox and the PlayStation, they're beginning to wind down this generation. And so Nintendo has no plans for a new console. That means consumers see more bang for their buck at the end of the day with Nintendo's piece of hardware, considering they don't have to buy a new one next year. But with that being said, Nintendo Switch doing very well in Europe, and who knows, you might even be playing the new IO Interactive game, because IO Interactive's next big project after Hitman 2 is a new game with Warner Bros. Planned for PC and consoles. IO Interactive isn't just figuring out the future of Hitman, it's also working on a, quote, new universe. The developer previously spoke about Hitman 3 and its plans for a new video game property in a no-clip documentary from July. Now, IO has shared a few more details about the all-new game. The studio's first big departure since 2010's Kane and Lynch 2 Dog Days, and also announced a publishing partner on the project, Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment. The two companies worked together on Hitman 2 last year and the Hitman HD Collection this year, and they apparently aren't tired of each other yet. IO Interactive has a proud history of creating compelling characters and universes for our players to enjoy. It's in our DNA, said CEO Hakan Abrak in a press release. As we embark on this exciting project to create a new universe for IOI together with Warner Bros., we're currently looking for ambitious talent to join our team in Copenhagen and Malmö studios for this extraordinary adventure. In its announcement, Warner Bros. Said that both of IO's studios will be integral to the new game. Obviously, we don't have much to go on yet other than IO Interactive's track record, which also includes Freedom Fighters, but we do know this will be a PC and presumably next-gen console project. My favorite part of the new console gen is seeing genuinely new games try and prove themselves. That's always the hope, at least, the author says at Destructoid, and I'm curious to see what the current IO staff can dream up when they're free to venture outside of the Hitman sandbox and everything that could and should entail. Ever since their Square Enix split, I've been rooting for these devs extra hard. And so we have a tease, if you will, of what is to come for the world of IO Interactive. And I agree with the author 100% here. The best part about a new generation coming into the limelight is the fact that you do have these new projects. You have these new experiments that are going to be coming up and really kind of making themselves known. And that's very exciting because the gaming industry can often be something that continuously churns out the same projects year after year, month after month, and it can get a bit tiresome. And to be able to see a brand new anything is very exciting. And so a brand new world being built by a studio that has proven itself time and time again. I'm excited for that, and I cannot wait for the next generation. Make no mistake, though, big fan of Hitman regardless of what's going on with this new game, so at least you've got that to fall back on if this one doesn't work out. But again, have faith, ye of little faith. It could be good. But you know what might not be good? Ubisoft's brand new cartoons, because Ubisoft is turning more of its games into animated shows. Captain Laserhawk plus Watch Dogs and Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. Okay. French video game company Ubisoft is continuing its foray into animated television with several new shows, including a tamed Watch Dogs tale and a franchise built around Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. The Watch Dogs series is described as a toned-down version of Ubisoft's popular game franchise about hackers. The series is aimed at tweens, according to The Hollywood Reporter. It's unclear where the show will take place, but the Watch Dogs gaming franchise has brought players to Chicago, San Francisco, and London. Concept art for the show shows a middle school-aged girl with a cybernetic version of herself reflected on the floor below, as you can see here. There it is. She's got bananas on her sweatshirt and a phone in her hand, and she's ready to take on the world. Ubisoft's other interesting series in the pipeline is Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon vibe. Castlevania producer Adi Shankar will oversee the project, which is based on Blood Dragon. As with Watch Dogs, Ubisoft has not made much information available yet, but concept art for the series showcases a neon-lined, 80s-inspired aesthetic that stays true to the game's vibe. Addy is such a great fan of video games. We share the same culture and references, Ubisoft film and television managing director Helene Juckett told the reporter. It's been great to give him the freedom to do something very fresh and bold with our characters. Ubisoft has a few other series in development, including an animated sketch comedy that looks at video game culture. The company is also working on a Mars-set Rabbids Invasion special, which arrives after the company's Rabbids Invasion show airs its 4th season. Plus, Ubisoft is developing an adventure comedy inspired by the popular Rayman franchise and Hungry Shark Squad, based on the mobile game Hungry Shark, according to the reporter. It's unclear when these shows are expected to arrive or on which network/streaming service they will air. And so we have Ubisoft getting more and more into the world of animated television programming. And I think that's a good move financially, because all of these projects could very well be candy for children, literally. I mean, if you want to market that, I suppose that's another good way to get more people into the fray. But you know what I'm saying? People love these shows, and especially younger kids. They love to get into these animated worlds. And of course, I'm not really one that continues to watch cartoons, but I used to back in the day. And I will say, these all could be shows that I would be generally interested in. I mean, the concept art for this Watch Dogs project, for instance, this could very well be the newest generation's Kim Possible. I know that for a lot of you, that's probably blasphemy, but I could totally see that working out. Whenever you look at stuff like the Rabbids TV show, apparently doing very well if they've had 4 seasons, so that seems to be a pretty good work. But I will say, this Captain Laserhawk, not sure about that one. This one looks like Archer, but with a synthwave aesthetic. Not really digging that one, but we'll see what happens. Again, you can't win them all, but maybe you could win a couple of them, and especially with these specific names, you could be seeing some pretty big hits. But I suppose we will see when these effectively hit the air sometime in the future. Again, date TBD. Now, let's move on. The other co-founder of Mixer has now left the company. Another big name departs Mixer following co-founder James Boehm and corporate VP Mike Ybarra. Now, I do want to say we talked about Ybarra's departure from Microsoft a couple of days ago, but I was not aware of the fact that he was actually leading the Mixer team on top of focusing on other projects behind the company. So that's worth mentioning here. Despite snagging gaming headliner Ninja to the platform, Mixer is arguably in the midst of a representative evolution as its second founder has decided to move on from the service following corporate VP Mike Ybarra. Mixer co-founder Matt Salsamendi took to Twitter to announce his last day at the company with an image of a full-throated goodbye letter to employees and fans. In his farewell tweet from the company, Salsamendi briefly gives an overview of his career to date and an optimistic send-off and a note about being a Mixer partner in the near future. Salsamendi's tweet comes 8 days after Mixer's other co-founder, James Boehm, announced his departure from parent company Microsoft. Boehm opted for a Twitter thread rather than Salsamendi's image to tweet to explain the reason for his departure. With both co-founders now gone, the onus of Mixer's future is being placed increasingly in Microsoft's lap. Ideally, the transition will be akin to Microsoft's stewardship of Minecraft, where the platform continues positive growth and fans can continue to enjoy their favorite service. Now, I will say I've never heard of this website on MSFT. Don't know what that is, but let me make it very clear. Mixer and Minecraft, two very different entities. That's not how this works. Sorry. This is very shocking to me. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but with all these big, high-profile people jumping ship, something is awry, and I don't know what it is. Of course, you have Stein, at Steineken on Twitter, tweeting that the future of Mixer is bright. He's, of course, pretty much a figurehead in the gaming community as well as the streaming community, and specifically the Mixer community. But still, you have to wonder, what's up with all these people jumping ship? Is something going on behind the scenes? And that is yet to be seen. But of course, as I said with Boehm, best of luck to Salsamendi. Of course, the incredible story here is shown off in his letter, which I would highly recommend that you check out on Twitter. But essentially, they started working on stuff, he and Boehm, together at age 13, and then they transitioned into creating Minecraft servers that they were making a good bit of money on, and then they wanted to develop this streaming platform that was low latency, that allowed for community creation. They made Beam, then Beam was sold to Microsoft, and now, at roughly the age of 23, they're the co-founders of Mixer, which was sold to Microsoft for copious amounts of cash, and now they can do whatever they want. Specifically with Salsamendi, he is getting into the world of lasers. What a world. What a world to get into. But again, if you do want to read more, again, you can find it on MSFT. But on top of that, tons of people talking about the big notable departures over there at Microsoft over the past few days. However, guess what? If you like Mixer, you might also like Twitch. And if you like Donald Trump, guess what? He's on Twitch. What? Donald Trump is the newest Twitch streamer. Welcome to the 2020 campaign. The 2020 presidential campaigns are well underway, and Donald Trump has added another internet outlet to reach voters, Twitch. The campaign's first verified stream went live tonight from a rally in Minneapolis as Trump followed Bernie Sanders' campaign in creating a presence on the site. While the primary use of Twitch is for live video game streams, as of this writing, it's also hosting one of Amazon's Thursday Night Football feeds with about 41,000 viewers. The Trump stream counted 12,000 or so. As of last check, the Twitch TOS doesn't have any special carve-outs for politicals or politicians' speeches, but Trump has frequently targeted its CEO, Jeff Bezos, and the Washington Post with criticism and comments, so if there's ever an issue of moderation on the channel, it could be another flashpoint of controversy between those parties. Another odd element of Trump's use of Twitch is the administration's stance on gaming. In May, it hosted a meeting to discuss violent video game exposure and the correlation to aggression and desensitization in children. Now, its campaign events are going live next to streams of Fortnite and Apex. Now, here's the deal. I don't want to take a political stance in my show because I know some people out there support, some people are against. Whatever, you have your thoughts, I have mine. We all have our own individual perceptions of reality. What I do want to make it known about, what I do want to kind of riff on for a minute, is the fact that Twitch has grown out of being a live video game streaming platform, and we all know this to be true. It is an incredibly unique site in that every cultural focal point that you could possibly imagine has some kind of representation. So if you want to see somebody playing Fortnite, you can find it on Twitch. If you want to see somebody playing Call of Duty, you can find it on Twitch. That goes for any game imaginable. On top of that, you can find somebody eating dinner, and you can watch it on Twitch. You can find somebody on the other side of the world twerking, and they call it entertainment. You can find that on Twitch. You can find political rallies on Twitch. It has grown out of being the video game streaming platform that it was with Justin.tv. And it has become a cultural center. It has become something where you can find any kind of information on anything. In a way, it's like a live streamed version of the internet, which if you don't follow me, you can find whatever you want on the internet. You can find whatever you want on Twitch. A very strange position the platform finds itself, especially going into the politics side of things, because as we all know, very divisive in today's day and age, the topic of politics. But Donald Trump is officially verified on Twitch. You can't sub to him, but you can follow if you do want to get in on that. Quite the show. Quite the show. But maybe you are inspired by the president to start streaming. You could give Surviving Mars a shot for free on the Epic Games Store. Next week, Alan Wake's American Nightmare waiting for you. Time to file another story to free games that are actually good, and you should probably queue them up now even if you don't have time to play them, because maybe you'll want to get to them someday. Wordy tag. The free game of the week on the Epic Games Store is Surviving Mars, the Paradox published 2018 city builder about colonizing Mars. Additionally, the Space Race add-on is also free, so go spend some time on the fourth rock from the sun, and of course you can find that again on the Epic Games Store. Next week, Epic leans into the Halloween spirit. Both Alan Wake's American Nightmare and Observer will be free. Perfect games for this time of year. Plus, it gives anyone who just got done with Control a great excuse to revisit some of Remedy's older stuff. So again, if you do want to dive in and get those games for free, Surviving Mars for this week. Next week, Alan Wake's American Nightmare and Observer. Oh, quality games. And again, as I always say, why wouldn't you get them? They're free. But that rounds out today's episode of the Jampack Report. If you enjoyed this one, drop me a like down below if you are watching on YouTube. And of course, if you are listening to the podcast service, thank you so much. Hit that subscribe button. Get the show delivered to you every single weekday. But until Monday, I hope you guys have a phenomenal rest of the weekend. I will see you on Sunday for an episode of The Drop. But if you're looking for the podcast, it won't be here. That'll come back in just a couple of days. But I will talk to you then, and peace.